Hi, I'm Adam McIntosh, and I'm here today on behalf of Music Over Miles to talk to you about how to change the strings on your guitar. We're going to do half of an electric guitar and the other half on an acoustic guitar so that you know how to do both because they are slightly different from one another. At the end of this tutorial, you'll know how to restring your guitar, and I will tell you now that you should do it as often as possible. All right, let's change some acoustic strings. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is take the tuning peg that's connected to the low E string, which is, if you're looking at the guitar holding it, it's usually the first one to your left. The strings go around this way: E, A, D, G, B, E, E, A, D, G, B, E. So they kind of go in a circle across the neck this way. So we're going to take this tuning peg right here, and if you hit the string, you can hear which direction you're turning it, and we want to turn it down in pitch. All right, we're going to loosen it up. Not a good idea to take a wire cutter and cut these strings while they're tight because they can snap out of place and pop you in the eye. That hurts. Also, these are small pieces of wire, so this one's not bad, but as you get into the smaller pieces, these can poke you in the hand, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but if it goes under your cuticle, it really hurts. So as you get into these lower ones, do be careful. I'm just going to change the low E right now. The rest of them all work the same way. But you want to loosen it up like this, and then you have enough space to unwind it safely and pull the end out that way. And on the other end of the guitar, you're going to have these pegs that hold it in place. The best thing to do is get one of these tools from the store. Now, this is a really, really cheap one, like $1.99. I'm going to show you why you don't want to buy the cheap one. This slot that's in this side of it is great for popping out these pegs because they do get in there nice and tight. There you go. All right, so it looks like that when it's out. It's got one slot carved into it, and that's where the string sits when you put it back in. So then this comes out. That little piece at the end there is what keeps it below this peg and nice and tight. Fresh pack out. Now, going through this entire process, the best thing to do is to find your high E string, or the smallest gauge. This is the 11 that's going to go over here, and lay them out in order, because you can accidentally put, when you get into these smaller strings, you can easily accidentally put the E string where the B goes, or vice versa, if they're not in order. And then once it's wound around the peg, or you've cut the end off, you're stuck. So do put them out, lay them out in order so you know what you're doing. Careful unwinding them again. The ends are sharp, and we're looking for that low E string, which is here. Okay, so just as we took it out with our peg, we're going to put it back in. You want to sink that piece down into the body of the guitar low enough so that you can get the string into that slot. So we go in there, and then you press this down nice and tight while you're pulling the string up. Now the string's not going to go anywhere because this is holding it in. We're going to take it this way, and here's what will happen at the other end. going to get this tuning peg to go sideways, so the string goes through it like that. And we want these to wrap around the post this way. You see how they go up and around the post that way? Not this way. We don't want them to go up through here and then that direction. We want them to go this way and turn around. So we're going to get that to be about as far as your hand. With a low E string, obviously it's thicker, so it's going to wind around here faster than this string, right? So you can see that this string's thinner, it's going to wind around here more times than something that's thick, okay? Now I have to turn it back around to do this the right way. But what you'll see is that if I have this, I can reach over, put the string into the proper slot in the nut at the end of the neck. And then the question is, how do I keep it there? You're going to do this with your hand. You're going to try and keep that tight as you wind the string with our string winder. So I'm hoping you can see both these things now. I've got the string nice and tight on the guitar, and I put the string winder around the peg this way. So as I start to wind this, what I want to make sure happens is that when this string goes around the peg, this extra part goes over it, so that this part goes under. Otherwise, it would go off the top of the tuning peg, right? So, see that going under there. That's great. Now we're off to a good start. The string winder will save you muscle aches and a lot of time. It does get very tedious to wind the high E string. When it comes back around, make sure it's still under the other side, that you're winding it down the peg, and then it will just go into place. Holding the string taut, and once you get it tight enough, you can let it go. And match it to your high E string. Now the strings will stretch out a lot over the first maybe day or two that you're playing it, so you have to tune a lot. But you can already hear how crisp that new string is compared to the old dull ones on here. So it is a good idea, if you're going to record or play a show, to put on new strings. Do stretch them out before you play, and you can do that by pulling up on the string and actually stretching it like this. You'll hear that it went out of tune when I did that because it stretched. Repeat the process across the neck and you'll have fresh strings on your guitar. Why don't you want to use this cheapo one? As you wind this around the peg, here's what will happen. This little metal piece will start to pop out as you're winding. Doesn't come all the way out, but it does make it really hard to wind your strings accurately. For a couple dollars more, you can, well, it does come all the way out apparently. For a couple dollars more, you can get one that doesn't do this and save yourself a lot of headaches. Another good tip as you're doing this is don't take all the strings off and then put all the new ones on. Again, easy to confuse which one you're putting on if you do it that way. Take them off one at a time. It's good to do 6th, then 3rd, 5th, then 2nd, and 4th, and then 1st. That way you don't mess with the tension on the neck that the strings provide and put any stress on the truss rod or take the intonation out of the guitar. All right, so electric guitars. The process is relatively similar as far as the tuning pegs and the string tuner that you're going to use and all that. But when you have some form of tremolo bar, you're going to have to make some form of adjustment for it. The strings are not going to drop into a hole like on an acoustic. They're going to do something else. Like, for example, on a Stratocaster, you're going to feed the strings in from the back. And if you flip the guitar over, you'll see a panel on the back of a Stratocaster that has 6 holes in it. It takes a second to wiggle the string through there and get it to come out through the front of the body, but it's relatively easy. This guitar doesn't have that panel on the back, so I can't show it to you, but that's a Strat, and this is a Telecaster. This one, like I said, happens to have a tremolo bar on it, and the strings actually go through this way and wrap around, then come under this bar and sit in the saddle. There. We'll try and show you one here, and you'll get an idea of how it works. Again, we want to listen to it as we turn it so it doesn't snap on us. And then once you have the string out, come down here, pull it out from under the bar, and pull it out of here. Okay, let's get one fresh string. This brand of strings works a little differently. They give you a guide here that's color-coded, and the first string, or the high E, has a silver peg on the end of it, second purple. So keep this, tear it apart, and use it to line up which strings you're going to put in what order. I just took off the high E, the first, so we're looking for a silver string, or a silver peg on the end of a string. And when you pull the bunch out, you're going to see that we have a bunch of color-coded ends. The silver one is the one that is the lightest in color, not this brass one over here, but the one that's attached to this other purple string. I usually do wind them in twos. And then you're going to unwrap this, keeping this end away from you. Go separate them easily so that they don't get kinks in them. And then put the purple one down somewhere where you can find it again. These are thin. If you do this on carpet, you may lose them and then step on them later, which is not fun either. And as I said, every tremolo bar is different. Some of them have a locking mechanism here that you have to deal with. If you run into that, do go to the manufacturer's site and look at the specifications for how to change strings on that. I just advise doing that as opposed to searching and searching for the correct video for that guitar. So what we have to do here is we have to find the peg. Oh yeah, this works this way. So the peg down here. And this has to go around that peg. It's not easy to do. I'm going to try and do it. I'm going to put a little bit of a slight bend in this. It stands up when I go around. And voila. You have it on the peg. Now once you have it on there, do keep it taut like this. Of course, it'll pop off. Up under there nice and tight. You're gonna have to hold on to it and get it under the bar. This is what will hold it down into the saddle. And then make sure it's not crossing over the other strings. So it goes directly down into the mechanism and then bends, holding the string tightly. Over here, we'll keep it in place. As you get that first kink to go around, you can start to pull a little bit more tightly. E string is the thinnest and most difficult to deal with, but once you get it going, just keep it down and then wrap it underneath the other side. On these tuning pegs, it should do that for us automatically. And we'll take our wonky little winder and as you can see, you have to go around many times with the thin string, so you do want a quality winder. Making sure to keep it down under the other wrap. Let's see how many more times it goes around the peg than a large string would. Almost there. And once you have it, you can let it go. And before you tighten it all the way down, because you've had to wrangle with it so much, you want to make sure that it's seated properly.